Welcome to the September Old Plus New video collaboration. This month's theme is Mixed Up Mayhem or Crunchy Cozy. I have a card that's using a little bit of both of the theme. We'll get into that in just a moment. Make sure you use the hashtag to find all of the creators participating. This month my new product is this Papertrey ink Pumpkin House die set. As you can see, it is packed full of items that you can use to create a fall themed card. My old item is called Fall Sunshine. It is the paper pad that was last month's box of the month paper pad. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I'm going to go with kind of a black and white theme on my pumpkins today, which is going to be something a little bit different. I want a substantial pumpkin, so this pumpkin's going to be pretty thick in size, very chipboard-esque. I've added some double-sided adhesive to the back of my pattern paper. I cut it down so that it's wide enough to go through my die cutting machine, and I'm using the 3 pumpkin dies for this part of the card. So I'm going to die cut this once I plug in my die cutting machine, and I think I needed a little bit of a shim on this, and because it does have the plastic behind it, so I did run it through a couple of times. I'm going to run it again with some white cardstock. Again, I'm going to use that double-sided adhesive on the back of those pattern paper pumpkins to my advantage so that I can add these white pieces of cardstock behind it. I just pull back the adhesive a quarter of the way, align my pumpkins, and then I remove the rest of the release paper, so it's easy peasy, quick and easy. I'm going to cover up the white that would be on the side of these pumpkins using some Distress Oxide ink, and then I also add a little bit to the edges just so that it gives it a little bit of dimension. I'll do that with the next 2 die cuts. While I'm doing that, let me talk a little bit about the Old Plus New collaboration. This is something that we do monthly. We would love for you to participate. So between the 1st and the 30th of September, if you create a project with our theme, please make sure to use that hashtag on Instagram or on YouTube if you're a YouTube creator, so that we can see what you've created. In return, you can use that hashtag. I have it linked in my description box. Just click on that and it will show you all of the projects that have been created thus far this month. There will be many created between the 1st and the 30th, so I hope that you will join along. I am going to create a second card with this die set. I received a gift card from Biddy Penny, who is actually the person who started this group, and it was very generous of her, and so this die was absolutely amazing. The Papertrey ink release was fabulous for the month of August, and I thank you, Toby, for the gift card. I think that this set is going to be well loved. But what I was getting at is I am going to create a second card that I'll add to my blog post later on this month, so be on the lookout for that. If you haven't subscribed to my blog post, I do post there pretty regularly as well now, so make sure that you're subscribed there and you don't miss any of my projects. I have the Dots for Summer paper pad. This is another older, not too shabby shop paper pad, and I used 2 of my Spellbinder Arches nested dies to create a frame, and then I took the large one from the frame that I made and I'm using it on this card panel. So I have this beautiful sunshine paper, and I want to make sure that I have it straight because this is going to go on my card front, so I'm making sure that my arch is going to be straight, and I'll run it through my die cutting machine, and that will be the front of my card. I wanted that yellow frame to be inlaid because the scene that I'm building is going to be mostly black and white on the inside of my card, and I think that having that frame, adding that pop of color to it, really helps everything stand out just a little bit more. Now, I didn't get this die cut perfectly. I needed to put a shim in my machine, and I didn't do it at this point. After this point off camera, I did put a shim and everything cut beautifully. But I did get a little bit of a tear on the right side, but I wasn't worried about it because I'm going to be covering it up on the inside with that frame. Now I'm going to do some ink blending on my panel. So this is an A2 size panel, and I started with prized ribbon. I'm blending some black soot over the top of that, and then I'll go back over with the prized ribbon. When I add the prized ribbon, it's going to change to a midnight blue, which is going to give me a beautiful night sky. I did tape off the top of my card over where the back was, where it folds over, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't contaminate that with any ink. And of course I'm adding gold ink splatters to give myself that beautiful starlit night in the background. I cut a hillside from some green cardstock that I had in my stash. I wanted to oxidize this, so I did add some I can't remember, it's wilderness, something wilderness, to the hillside, and then I added some water to it so that I got those nice milky water droplets. And I've added some adhesive to the back of that hillside, and I'm attaching it to my card base. I'm going to trim this down, so I'm going to trim off any of that excess rustic wilderness. I think that's what it's called. Sorry, that was a squirrel moment. I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this sunflower panel, and you're going to see just how beautiful everything looks together. I'll use my Misti to help me align everything. So once I get this aligned, I'm going to inlay that yellow polka dot paper. And now we're going to start building our card. For the moon, I did cut out a piece of polka dot pattern paper, again from the Fall Sunshine paper pad, and I inked around the edges of that with a little bit of fossilized amber to give it a little bit of dimension. It was too white. It was falling a little bit too white against that sunflower backdrop. So adding that little bit of fossilized amber around the edges is going to allow it to not blend in so much with that sunflower paper. And once we get this together, we'll start building our pumpkin. I just think that this card is so pretty. My mixed up Mayhem, I considered the fact that I'm using paper for my die cuts. I typically don't do that. I do mostly Copic color, so that is what my next card will be. I'll be Copic coloring these images, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. I really loved this paper pad from the Not Too Shabby shop, and I thought that the design of this card was the perfect combination. And again, crunchy cozy. For me, I always, when I think of fall, I think of pumpkin spice lattes, pumpkin pie, pumpkin everything. I am a pumpkin loving girl, so for me, crunchy cozy means pumpkin. And of course we are using a pumpkin on our card, and we do have some nice little trees that kind of have a whimsical fall feel to them. That tree up in the upper right hand corner of the card, I did tuck the trunk. I attached the gingham piece of cardstock, so that is a leaf that comes with this die set. I put that together off camera. I cut the leaf from the gingham paper that was in the Fall Sunshine paper pad, and then I added the smallest trunk. So there's two different leaves, and there's two different size tree trunks in this die set. So I went ahead and used the smaller one, tucked it behind the hillside over on the right hand side. I'm going to add these tendrils to the pumpkin. Again, I went with that black and white theme, so my door was cut from white cardstock. I used some silver foiled paper from my stash to cut the hinges, and also to cut the window that I added to the top of the pumpkin. and then I colored the handle with some black Copic marker. And I think that you can use this without the whimsical feel of the door and making it look like a house. I think that it would be absolutely beautiful just as a pumpkin on its own. I love the dimensional layer by adding that extra layer of cardstock behind each of them. And then of course, I added some dimensional tape behind that the smallest of the layers. And I think that it just really helps the card. It gives that card a wow factor. I'm a fan of dimension, and I think that it just really adds so much when you're creating, especially when you're creating a scene. So I'm going to start figuring out where I want all of my pieces. I do have that window a little bit crooked, and off camera afterwards I do straighten that up. It's inevitable that I get something crooked on a card somewhere. So it was the window. I wasn't sure whether it was the window or whether it was the door. And after analyzing it, I came to the conclusion that the window was a little bit wonky. So off camera, you'll see when I finish up my photos, I'll show you a photo of this at the end, that the window did get straightened. I'm going to add some glue to the back of this pumpkin and place it onto my card panel. And I added my moon. I'm not going to put a sentiment on this card. I thought that the scene was enough. I think it would have been too cluttered if I would have added a sentiment to the front of the card. I cut the ladder out of the same silver cardstock that I used for the window and for the hinges on the door. I'm going to trim this little piece down, and then I'm going to put the two fence lines on the left and the right side of my scene, and that will complete my card for today. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. I hope you use the hashtag. I hope this inspired you to get out some of your fall themed items and to start creating. I will have all of the products that I've used linked in the description box below. I want to thank you who have been shopping using my affiliate links. It has been so helpful, and I am so grateful to each of you. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this little scene, what you think of this Papertrey ink die. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks so much for watching.